But since the others are not in the studio, I'll not introduce them now. Let me introduce a man who's, as he progresses, becomes more difficult to introduce because it was more comfortable introducing him as Chairman Mao when he was still chairman of Gulu district. But now he's President General of the Democratic Party, contestant in last year's general election for the presidency, which he didn't achieve. Mr. Mao, you're most welcome to the Hot Seat.
Thank you, Charles, and good evening, dear listeners.
I was doing a count.
Did you say a regular feature or a regular fixture?
A regular feature.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I'll check if the wordsmith have the right words or if that is correct.
I don't mind being a fixture also. That means I'm here, permanent like the furniture.
Very nice to have you. Tonight we'll focus our attention on how the credibility of the 9th Parliament is, according to some people, fast eroding. The revelation about the 103 million has become a nightmare for the 9th Parliament, eating into its stellar performance over the first 9 months of their existence. What does that mean? Is it being engineered at some stage? Who is engineering it, if that is the case? And what chances does Parliament have to redeem itself? Let me also introduce, just joining us in the studio after long...
We have been invaded.
No, this looks like Angelo's security or something else. But Angelo Izama rejoining the Hot Seat after quite...
Angelo is wearing a graph book.
Angelo, very nice to have you on the Hot Seat.
You know what
after a long time.
These patterns come with?
I know. Alcatraz.
Mr. Mao, let me start with a question. You served in the 6th Parliament of Uganda.
And the 7th Parliament.
And the 7th Parliament of Uganda, 10 years. Left to serve Gulu district as chairman. Attempted to serve in State House. You weren't successful. And you've been watching closely.
When you have an interviewing panel of 14 million people, some of whom can be bought with half a kilo of sugar, passing the interview is very difficult.
When you look at the 9th Parliament, what is your overall assessment of its performance in the first 9 months of the existence, since June last year?
According to the Constitution, MPs have 3 primary roles: legislation, representation, and oversight. MPs are supposed to represent us. I think in that role, they have been excellent. Because people like what the MPs are saying inside Parliament. And I believe the majority of Ugandans sit back and say, yeah, if I was in that house, that's what I would be saying. So in terms of venting our grievances and making noise and howling out loud, they have been very good. And in terms of legislation, the Uganda Parliament notoriously passes very few laws. Compared to other parliaments in the region, our parliament is not efficient in terms of passing legislation. Also because the hours, Parliament only does business Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon. It is only when there is an emergency or when there is a lot of pressure, that's when the parliamentarians sit a little bit longer. So in terms of passing laws, the Parliament has not been as good as it could be. Now, oversight, it's a mixed grill. Ugandans need to know that our Parliament is not the same as, for instance, the House of Commons. It was said about the British House of Commons that they can do everything under the sun except to turn a woman into a man and vice versa. Our Parliament is not like the American Parliament, the US Congress. The US Congress actually controls money. In the Constitution of Uganda, no MP can introduce any law which affects government finances. If a law has financial implications, it has to be brought by a member of the front bench. So that weakens parliamentary oversight role. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of representation, I would give the parliament 7.
7%.
Yes.
Yes. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, hyperventilating about our issues as citizens, complaining, soon we may call them fellow mourners, in terms of mourning together with us. I would give them 7. Now, on legislation, I would give parliament 4.
4%.
Yes,
I mean
4 over 10.
Mm.
Yes. On oversight, I would give them 5. Why do I give them only 5 in these other 2? Actually, oversight is about the sanctions. Once you have uncovered a crime, then you should be able to take the legal process to its logical conclusion. And the person who has evaded oversight is actually the president. One day, I was on a talk show and I was criticizing the MPs. I told them, I'm not impressed. I think they are beating the shadow of the snake. The snake is up there also wondering why its shadow is being beaten. And they said, no, your kind of statement is going to demoralize MPs. MPs are doing a great job. Seki Kubo is doing a great job. Mohammed Nsereko is doing a great job, and so on. Now, in a way, it's good for these people to step forward, the Jared Karuhangas and so on. I know that can put pressure. But the person who constitutes the government is the president. He is supposed to be the alpha and the omega of all important decisions. So he's the person whose standard of accountability must be the highest. Somehow, in this parliament, maybe apart from Odongauto and Luchamuzi, I don't know how serious they are. Once in a while, they step forward and say, we are going to impeach the president. Do they do that when they feel they are crowded out of the media space, or they do it consciously? In a way, I sympathize with the opposition in the parliament today, because the debate in parliament is more like the front bench of the NRM versus the back bench of the NRM, and that almost makes Nandala Mafabi and his troops to be on the pavilion as spectators. The real field is crowded by people wearing the same yellow uniform. Everybody running around the pitch is wearing yellow, and it's a very uncomfortable position in which to be. Now, those people, the Seki Kubos, Mohammed Mayanjas, and Gerard Karuhangas, the one thing they cannot do is to take on President Museveni. Now, that should be the role of the opposition. So if the opposition wants to get back into the game to ensure effective oversight, they should start going after the real culprit, President Museveni.
Is that you use the image of a snake and its shadow? Is the snake just watching on in amusement? Is it waiting to strike, preparing to strike, in your view?
You have got to give President Museveni credit on being a maestro. He knows how to dribble his game. So, Ugandans know that President Museveni's power base is the army. That's why when he disclosed that he had ordered the minister to sign that contract, he had his troops standing to attention, armed to the teeth, with the tanks around. The jets had just flown above the Kasese. So, in short, he's saying, I am here and this is my backbone, and it is called UPDF. Now, because President Museveni knows that sends a clear message to the majority of Ugandans that this man is very powerful, and his power is rooted in an institution which is organized, disciplined to serve his purpose. Now, when President Museveni came to parliament, he started by dragging the speaker into the whole debate. He said, before he ordered the minister to sign the contract, he rang the speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, and asked her, by the way, Madam Speaker, would it be okay for me to go ahead and have this contract signed, even while this motion, these resolutions are still on the back burner? According to the president, the speaker said, there's no problem. This motion, this resolution, does not bar government
The advisor in nature.
from continuing with its own business. So the president should actually not be asking the speaker. The president should be asking his attorney general. You should see the anomaly, because the chief legal advisor of the government
Is the attorney general.
is the attorney general. Now, the attorney general did not give any opinion apart from the press comments we read when the attorney general said this resolution is advisory. It's true. A resolution is a political statement. It is a statement of the prevailing sentiment in parliament. Now, this means the president does not value in on the weighing scale. The president does not think the parliament is heavy enough to shake him. But by calling Rebecca Kadaga, he sort of washes his hands and he says, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a soldier. And his kind of speech was to say, while parliament is wasting time, and always he brings that example of Bujagali. Now, the same debate about Bujagali Dam is the same debate about the oil. At that time, Mr. Isaac Musumba was our leader in opposing building a dam and setting up all these agencies, signing deals without having a law regulating the electricity sector. Now, in the same way, President Museveni is blaming Parliament, and yet legislation should come from the executive.
Okay, we need to take a commercial break. You gave Parliament 7 out of 10
in representation.
You gave them 4 out of 10 in oversight.
No, legislation.
And you gave them 5 out of 10 in oversight.
Yes.
You have, as the Democratic Party, Betty Nambo Zebachireke, Lulu Mebaiga, Kauma Muhammad, Lubega Medad, Mutebi Joseph Balikudembe, Namaganda Susan, Namayanja Florence, Sebuliba Mutumba, Sebagala Latif, Joseph Sewungu, Isa Chikungwe, JB Mutebi, and Brenda Nabokenya.
Yes.
Those are 13 members of parliament.
Yes.
You have netted the biggest gains from the recent by-elections.
2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. You won in Entebbe municipality. You also won in Luwero. And FDC won in Jinja municipality East. NRM won in Busiro North.
Yes.
Returning the former vice president Gilbert Bukele,
who refused to make the thumbs up sign all through his campaign.
They say he ran as an opposition candidate, and because most of his campaigners were opposition people, not those from the ruling party. The question is, out of these 7 you gave on representation, how many do your own MPs get? After short commercial break.
Charles, you are trying to put a trap around my neck.
We'll be right back after short commercial break.
There is only one radio station which gives you